the beauty of being a creative is like you're not stuck in this box, right? You could start this way, but tomorrow you could be going this way, you know, going from podcast to then all of a sudden you're promoting documentaries, you know? Like you don't really know. And that's the beauty of it because you have that creative liberty to be able to do what you want.
This world, especially when it comes to videography, editing, all that stuff, like it's a never-ending catalog of things you can learn.
Yeah.
Like it's so much stuff. Like every day I'm learning something else. Maybe a different tactic, a different way of lighting. Like you can go into a wormhole where you're constantly learning stuff.
Yeah.
Even like the best, even the guys at the top, like they're doing new things. Like they're learning new things. They're trying, you know, experimenting. So that's the beauty of it also. You can never really get bored of it because it's always changing.
Yeah.
But I think what's important, especially for me, is just staying true to why I started doing this.
Right.
And why I chose to do this as a profession because, like I said, I might be a videographer, I might be the best videographer, but I'm a damn good storyteller, and that's the reason that I've been able to do what I do at such a high level because I know how to, like I said, take it from point A to point B and affect you so much that you'll remember that video more than anything.
Love it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Stay Tranquilo podcast, where the Pooch is on camera today.
Again.
And the camera is being manned by somebody else today, aka Vic Garcia in the back.
Thank you, Vic
He's
Garcia.
on camera duty today.
Yeah, this is my second time on the Stay Tranquilo podcast sitting in this chair. I made a few cameos here and there on the sports podcast, but this is my second official appearance on the podcast as a guest. I'll get a graphic on the top.
Well, technically you were the host the last time.
Yeah, I was the host last time. Now I'm sitting in the guest chair.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's a little bit different.
So we're gonna get into the mind of Papucho, aka Daniel
De Villiers.
De Villiers. There you go.
He always knows. Everyone thinks my name is Pooch. We forget I have a first and a last name too.
Listen, buddy.
I'm like Cher.
That's what's gonna happen.
I'm like
I
Cher.
think people forgot that I have a name too. So you're officially the Pooch or Papucho at this point.
Yeah, no, it started off as Papucho, and then as the years went on, it just became Pooch. It just rolled off the tongue a little bit better.
So let's get into that. How did you even get this nickname?
Oh man, the Papucho. So the story I tell people to mess with them is that I tell them I got bit by a dog called Papucho when I was little.
Okay.
And that was just my nickname. But the real story is I come from a Cuban background, and like every Cuban mom has like a little like kid name for their kid. And mine was Papucho, and my mom called me Papucho growing up. And then it wasn't until I was in high school that she accidentally called me Papucho in front of all my closest friends.
Yep, that'll do it.
And it was actually my broadcast teacher, Mr. Delgado. He was there, and he's like, "What did she just call you?" And I'm like, "Papucho." He's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "That's my."
What is that?
That's what she calls me. And then he's like, "Well, good for you. That's your name now." And bro, like from sophomore year up until now, like I've just honed in on the name. I used to hate it.
I can see how at first it's kind of like, God damn it, how did this get out there kind of thing. But it is a pretty fire nickname at the end of the day.
Dude, it's gotten to a point that like I won't even introduce myself through that name, and people will find out that's my nickname. Like I was in college and I'm like, I'm Daniel.
Yeah.
And then one day someone's like, "Hey, Pooch, can you get this?" I'm like, "How the hell do you know that?"
Yeah.
Or like, even at like my last job I was at, like one day they came by and like, hey, Papucho, how are you doing? I'm like, dude, how do you even know that? Like, it's one of those names I just like, people don't know Daniel, they know Papucho. Like, that's kind of the point it's kind of gotten to.
That's how I feel about like Tranquilo. Like, no one calls me Andre. Everyone calls me Tranquilo at this point. So it's just, you just embrace it because you're like,
I embraced
shit,
it.
if that's what the people want to call you, that's what the people want to call you, and it becomes a part of your identity.
Yeah, and like my dad was saying, like I was talking to my dad, he's like, honestly, like it's not even that bad a nickname.
No, it's not.
It's like one of those things that's
I think
like
people
a
are
staple.
confused at first when they first hear it. They're like, what is it? Pooch? Papucho? Like, what, like you said, like, what is that?
Yeah.
But then once people like start rolling it off the tongue, they're like, I kind of like that.
Yeah, like people are just like, dude, honestly, like I'd rather call it Papucho because Papucho just sounds like a good time. Like,
yeah, exactly.
If I'm with the Pooch, like it's a good
Papucho's
time.
pachanga.
Like I'm happy. Like, you know, it just, you can't be mad and say Pooch. You can't be mad and say the Pooch. So,
no, you cannot.
So when I hear Daniel, I know it's serious. Like when people call me by legal name, Daniel, which is with a Y. I know you know that.
Yes, I know that.
Danyel. So I have a weird first name and I have a weird nickname.
Like when people read it, they're gonna be like, how the hell do I say this name?
It's all my mom's fault.
Hey, but you made it work. So
no, yeah. Now I even put it on my Instagram. Like now it's Daniel Papucho de Villiers. So I'm like, you know, I might as well just go all in on it, and that's it. Now I'm the Pooch.
I like it. That's a great nickname. But let's get into about Pooch. Let's get into who you are, what you do, how you got into this world. Obviously, for people that know, you know, some people know already that you manage obviously all our video component for Stay Tranquilo, but go back, you know, into previous world of your life.
Yeah, dude. So for me, growing up until high school, I was adamant about working in special education because that's what my parents have done all their lives. My mom she studied psychology. She got her doctorate in psychology, and growing up, I was always in that world. Like every summer, like I was always like a camp counselor at her camps, working with kids, and like I was adamant about being a teacher or working in education at some point. And my mom, she actually said, and I'll never forget this. She was like, "Don't study education because it's always gonna be here for you. Like you're always gonna naturally know, and like what I can teach you, like you're not gonna be able to learn that in school."
Right.
So going into high school, I was like, I'm gonna be a teacher. And then the way I even got into media was my friends in middle school were like, hey, in Columbus, there's like this video broadcast club called CCNN Live. And I'm like, what is that? It's like, dude, like they do morning news and stuff. And it's like, dude, we should all try out. So I was like, all right, screw it, I'll go with the flow. You know, me and my best friends are just gonna go try out, talk some crap on camera. And dude, we went, and funny enough, I was the only one that ended up staying. I was the one that didn't know about it, and I was the one that ended up staying. And dude, I just fell in love with it. Like I really did. It wasn't even so much the video part of it. It was like what I could do with the video in terms of telling a story.
Right.
Like that was always my knack. Like, and you know, with Mr. Delgado, Miss Insua, like they're the ones that really pushed me to like really get into this because they knew like maybe I wasn't like a great videographer, but I just had a knack for telling a story.
Right.
So, dude, fast forward to 4 years through high school, I ended up doing CCN in all 4 years. Won a couple national championships, won a couple student Emmys. I think by the time I left, I'd won 5 or 6 student Emmys as a high schooler. I was one of the first teams to win national championship there at Columbus, and I, you know, for lack of a better term, you know, we kind of built that championship reputation at CCNN. CCNN Live has now, shout out to them. I mean, those kids are freaking. I mean, what they do over there now, I mean, it can go toe to toe with like a professional network. And dude, you know, I was like, and then when I left there, I'm like, okay, broadcast journalism, here we go. And then I went to college. I went to UM. I studied broadcast journalism there. Same thing. I got into the broadcast program there. I was actually part of a sports show called Sports Desk. By my junior year, I took over the show, won best sports program in the nation, collegiate sports show in the nation, 2 years running.
Nice.
So I had a lot of success there, and I was like, you know what? I want to be in broadcast. I want to work as an executive producer. You know, I want to work for like an ESPN, like a CBS Sports, all that stuff. So I didn't get my first job in broadcast because when I was in college, it was pretty much like hot COVID time. So from my junior year to senior year, which is really like the job searching times, I mean, it was pretty much just like nothing. So a lot of people didn't really get internships, and a lot of people that were with me in my class, like they had not a hard time finding jobs, but it took a little bit longer just because a lot of these places weren't hiring as much.
Right.
So I ended up working at a TV station for a year, almost a year. And dude, it just wasn't what I expected it to be. It really wasn't. Like I was such a creative in terms of like I loved having that flexibility to like I kind of call it experiment.
Right.
And there was just no experimentation there. Everything was just a fine line of, you know, you have to do it this way, that way. And that's all fine and dandy. But for me, it was just like, you know, I couldn't be kept in a box. So then I started looking at creative media. Because in the past, I had done a lot of weddings, I had done like quinceañeras, and I love that ability to just like go in somewhere, not really have a game plan of sorts, no kind of more or less a structure, but just go in there and just create, you know, these pictures and just tell these stories with pictures. And I'm like, I want to do something along those lines. And then, dude, I just kind of fully committed to that. And that's kind of where I've been now, just working in creative media and using my skills from broadcast, from storytelling it, but doing it in a way where it's not so much with, you know, the intent of, or not so much in a box, not so strict, just like go out there, have fun and do what I do, but like, you know, have an effect on people with what my skills have given me, which is really just telling stories.
Yeah.
That's really what I've committed myself to.
It's crazy how much video obviously has evolved too.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, it's a hot commodity right now. Everybody wants video at some component, whether that's for, you know, an Instagram reel or TikTok or whatever it may be. Like just video is king, I guess you could say. And people are consuming it at an all-time rate. And then obviously you have the other aspect of it, right? Like that's more like the social component of it. But you have the world of the Netflixes of the world, Disney Plus, Hulu. I mean, all these streaming platforms that the companies themselves are actually producing TV shows now, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? I mean, now it was just like you went there, you watched, you know, your local TV stations and you watched the TV shows that were on there. And like that was the gist of it. Then Netflix obviously came around. They kind of evolved that model where at first they were just kind of buying the rights to certain shows and movies and then broadcasting it on their network. But now they're producing their own thing. So what's your kind of point of view of like how everyone's basically gone into the whole production space?
Man, I think a lot of people picked it up during COVID. I think COVID was really that point of turn in terms of more opportunity in media.
Right.
Just because I think right when COVID had started is when that kind of like, call it influencer era kind of started. That push for really a lot of social media content. Because before that, I mean, Netflix was huge.
Yeah,
like, you know, all these places are huge, but so many companies looking for someone to just come in and take video and like produce stuff for their shop.
Yeah.
Like that really wasn't a thing. Like, you know, didn't really see that much. So I think a lot of people picked it up, and I guess, you know, some people decided to make personal channels for themselves, and then people also decided like, you know what, let me pick up a camera and start making stuff for other people.
Right.
So I think it really opened a lot of doors for people to kind of explore that passion of creativity. And once they got their foot in the door, then you had people that are like, you know, the same thing with me. Like once you finally pick up that camera and start producing, you kind of find out what kind of person, what kind of route you want to go.
Right.
A lot of people will go a filmmaking route.
Okay.
You know, they like the scripts, the storytelling. You know, like having actors, like you know, script writing, copywriting. So a lot of people will go there. Then people, you know, take the creative media route, which is commercials, like going to like, you know, a Walmart, a Publix, and being on a big production team and then creating commercials. And then you have a lot of people that were just like, you know what, I'm just gonna film myself doing an activity. The same thing we see with golfers. Now you have more golf influencers now than, you know, probably ever really. Like, you know, back when I was, you know, especially golf was even as big when I was in college, but you didn't see a lot of influencers in so many different spaces. Now you have people that are creative influencers that their job is using their skills and just like freelancing essentially, but they created a name for themselves because of being a creative, you know? So I think it just, there's like, whenever I talk to people about media, they're like, honestly, media is just an umbrella at this point. Like there's so much stuff going on, and you just have to find kind of your niche of what you want to do. Like you can take so many routes, music videos, you know, underwater production, you know, outdoors, in the freaking indoor sports. A lot of people got into sports, photography, videography, and then like social stuff. And now you even have betting. Now you have, you know, everything's kind of gone in such a productive way that if you even slightly know how to use a camera, you can find something, you can find work. It doesn't matter if obviously you're putting yourself out there and finding something to do, but I mean, it's crazy. I think it's gotten too big to really understand like how much stuff you can actually do in it.
100%. What would you recommend to someone that wants to get into this space, right? Let's say a CCNN kid or, you know, outside of CCNN, obviously, but if they're dabbling in the thought of like, maybe I can get into something more creative, right? Because I think that's the other thing. I think that narrative has shifted. 10, 15 years ago, being a creative was like kind of taboo, right? Now it's like, it's almost endorsed more, right? Like go out there and be as creative as you want and have that freedom to do it your way kind of thing. What would you recommend?
If you want to be a creative, man, just pick up a camera and start shooting.
It's fun. I love just holding the camera and
pick up a camera and realize how much power you have in your lens. Like, pick up your camera and do something with it other than just like, don't go to someone and just shoot an image. Shoot an image, but try to tell a story. Like, I can shoot this, we have paintings all around here.
Right.
I can take a shot of a painting, but I have a shot of let's say a kid looking at the painting and observing it. Like, there's so many stories that can be told through that.
Right.
So it's like, pick up a camera and go out there and just shoot stuff that is meaningful. And then just keep on doing it, man. Just be just be consistent with it. Because I will say, I went to college and I appreciated going to college, but the amount of stuff you can learn just on your own and kind of creating your way of doing things, like, it's insane the amount of resources out there for you to become the best videographer possible.
100%.
Like, there are so many people, so many channels, so many tutorials that
YouTube
if you just
University.
dedicate, dude,
it's crazy.
Dude,
I've learned so much shit from YouTube.
That's where I learned a lot of stuff: lighting, video, angles, podcast production. When I started this, I never done podcasts before. Just look at a YouTube video, see how other people do it.
Yeah, sure.
So really, man, just it's trial and error, and just find your thing. Like, maybe you'll find more power in shooting, going to the Everglades and shooting animals than you will going to a football game and shooting athletes.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of it. You could literally shoot whatever the hell you want.
And I will say I've done everything. Like, I've shot in so many mediums. I've done music videos, documentaries, sports, food. I've even done beauty. And, I just kind of find myself doing something where I can, I found myself more in a creative avenue where I can give messages, which is where we are now. Using what I can, but still dabbling in what was my passion, which is broadcast journalism. So this kind of was like that perfect medium of being creative behind the camera and creating awesome pictures while telling stories, but also using, the people in front of the camera to like put out these messages of like, different things, positivity, mental improvement, mental wellness, all these things. So yeah, I mean, honestly, just trial and error, go out there and start shooting.
Yeah.
Start shooting.
It's true. I mean, you really don't know what you're going to able to capture. And then, like you said, I mean, you kind of start to realize what it is that you like, right? I mean, every day, even with our iPhones, right? Like when you go on a trip, you're inclined to go take a picture or video of something that's beautiful or something that you maybe never seen before, right?
Yeah.
I think that to me is always really intriguing because it's like you're able to capture moments, you keep memories, you keep all these like amazing things, right? That a camera can kind of bring to life and like you said, tell a story.
When you pick up a camera, you're in the business of creating memories. That's really what you are. And like that can be in so many different avenues, whether it's catching a big play or just capturing, little kids throwing a football in a campo.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, and the biggest thing, man, like, it doesn't even have to look good. It really doesn't, bro. It doesn't have to be the cinematic IMAX quality stuff, dude. If it's powerful imagery, like, dude, no one's gonna care.
A long way.
It can be shot on a flip phone. It can be shot on a Motorola, but if it's like, you can't recreate those memories.
It's all about the emotional touch points, right? How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel happy? Does it make you feel sad? Does it make you laugh? Does it make you feel entertained, right? Like there's so many facets that a video or a picture can do. And the reason you're gonna engage with it is strictly about the emotional connection that you have with what you're seeing. Whether that's something that it just hits like a pain point or it's like, damn, it brings back a memory. Whatever it is, there's something that a video and a photo can do that it just hits you a certain way and you're like, damn, like I like that.
And that's why I call myself a storyteller, because I feel like what I do well is I can take you from point A to point B and I can touch on so many emotions in that point that like you're gonna feel everything. You're gonna feel sadness, you're gonna feel happiness, you're gonna feel like just anger even. Like you're just gonna be maybe just
embrace
angry
it
at situations.
100%.
So like, that ability to tell a story through so many things and feel emotions. It's like the same way people look at paintings. Like if you really look at a painting, like you can go down so many emotions, and that's really the business. Just like using your videos to tap into the emotions. Like some people, when they go to a nightclub and they shoot the environment, it just gets you hyped up.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're looking at cool visuals, but like that feeling of
Right.
getting hyped out and going out, getting dressed up, you know, for the girls, getting in their dress, putting on the makeup, going out and just having a good time.
Right.
Like that's an emotion, you know, for us, you know, whenever we're doing golf stuff, like you can feel the stress of the golf game through the camera, like unwillingly.
And then it's the appreciation. Like you're watching a golf video and you see someone hit a hell of a shot and you're like, fuck yeah, that feels so good,
Yeah,
you know?
man.
And you're like, and then everyone gets hyped up, you know? So, or you bomb a drive up the middle, like, and that's all strictly about some sort of emotional relationship that you have had in real life. You know, I think that's the cool thing about it. And even going further, like I was thinking about it, like, look, think about scary movies. Bro, like they're tasked to make you feel scared, bro. And some of them do a damn good job of making you feel scared. Even if it's something you've never even witnessed in your life, you just feel it.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, I love what I do, bro, because you can do so much with it. And like,
it's fun.
You know, I guess the challenge with it also is that as much as media has become like so pronounced nowadays, like I feel like some people just like don't completely get it yet.
Right. It's a little saturated.
Like, you know, like, especially with like, you know, what I've tried to do in my life, like even like going through college and stuff, like no one ever saw me like working at a studio and just being locked in a box. Like they all saw me doing something more with my skills and doing something outside of the box. And like some people respect it, some people get it. Other people like they don't so much now respect it, but they're just like kind of confused by like, oh, like what do you really want to do with it?
Right.
Like what's a camera?
What's the outcome?
What's the outcome?
But I think that comes with like the creative landscape. There's a level of openness, right? Like obviously you know what you're doing and you have an intent and a purpose, but it's the beauty of being a creative is like you're not stuck in this box, right? You could start this way, but tomorrow you could be going this way, you know, going from podcast to then all of a sudden you're promoting documentaries, you know? Like you don't really know. And that's the beauty of it because you have that creative liberty to be able to do what you want, the way you want, right? And I think that's where people don't have that connection. They say, okay, like you're just filming videos, right? Like, and it's like, no, it's a lot deeper than that.
And this world, especially when it comes to videography, editing, all that stuff, like it's a never-ending catalog of things you can learn. Like it's so much stuff. Like every day I'm learning something else. Maybe a different tactic, a different way of lighting. Like you can go into a wormhole where you're constantly learning stuff. Even like the best, even the guys at the top, like they're doing new things. Like they're learning new things. They're trying, you know, experimenting. So that's the beauty of it also. You can never really get bored of it because it's always changing. It really is. It's always going to be changing. And like now, you know, 5 years ago, we didn't have 360 cameras. Now 360 cameras are a huge part of video. Everyone has a 360 camera. You know, I'm sure that, you know, back before GoPros were a thing, no one would ever think like I can strap something to my head and go and go skiing. The concept of a GoPro was crazy. You know, so like new stuff is always going to be coming out. You know, and the landscape of media is always gonna be changing, but I think what's important, especially for me, is just staying true to why I started doing this and why I chose to do this as a profession. Because, like I said, I might be a videographer, I might be the best videographer, but I'm a damn good storyteller, and that's the reason that I've been able to do what I do at such a high level, because I know how to, like I said, take it from point A to point B and affect you so much that you'll remember that video more than anything.
Love that. That's awesome. So then that gets into my next point. So what does a day in the life of Pooch working at Stay Tranquilo look like?
A day in the life of Pooch working at Stay Tranquilo? Well, we start with a 4 a.m. wake-up call from Andre. He's like, Pooch, how you doing? And then he just hangs up. He doesn't give it now. I'm just kidding.
Just no context.
He just like, get ready, boy. No, honestly, you know, for a day in the life of Stay Tranquilo, I mean, some days, you know, depending on, you know, our schedule, sometimes we film a lot, sometimes a lot of editing. So if I'm not editing, I'm filming. But, you know, day in the life, you know, I wake up, you know, call it 7 o'clock. I go through my emails. We go through our checklist that we made, you know, whether it's about different types of content we need to be put out for the different podcasts, editing the different podcasts, getting different materials out. And then, you know, then from there, I usually get into meetings. I follow up with some of the videographers that we have, you know, make sure they're on point, you know, make sure that we're getting all the elements. And then from there, it's really, you know, editing for a couple hours. I mean, for the most part, a podcast, for the most part, will take about anywhere to 2 to 4 hours, depending how long the podcast is. So the longer it is, sometimes the more detail you get. You know, I've been able to find a process where I've been able to push them out pretty effectively and pretty quickly. But 2 to 3 hours, I'll go to the gym, I'll get my lunch in. I'll go to the gym. And then for the most part in the evenings, we're usually shooting something. We're usually somewhere,
Right.
Whether it's shooting a podcast at a site, shooting at a cigar lounge, whatever it may be. So really it's just that constant, kind of rotation of, wake up, go to the checklist, edit some stuff. And then, if we're all cut up, we have some chances to just, take a step back. I like to hit my golf range.
Play some golf.
I like, sometimes I'll take a little bit longer in the gym, make sure I get my conditioning in. I like to go to my parents' school and help out whenever I can. So I usually go there. Nice. I help, with different classes, just walk around, help out, helping them with their own creative stuff for the school.
Yeah.
So really, just keeping myself busy as much as I can.
So I want to go back a little bit, get into a little bit more detail of like what actually editing a podcast looks like.
All right.
Like if someone wants to do this and they're like, what am I getting myself into by editing a podcast? And like the work that goes into it, obviously. So because this shit does not happen overnight.
So editing a podcast,
even though sometimes it has to.
Editing a podcast, I would say is not hard. It's tedious.
Right.
It's tedious work just because since it's such a long medium, like to be able to go, it's easy to go through a minute video and catch your mistakes, but to go through a minute video that's like 46, 50 minutes long,
almost impossible.
Like you really have to oh my God.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, especially when we're filming, right now the camera with Vic back there, I try to do everything as good as I can out of the camera so that I have the least amount of work to do in post-production. True. So when it comes to the color and stuff.
Okay.
But once I pretty much lay everything out, I work on the levels for the audio and stuff, make sure we sound nice and crisp. Probably spend about 10, 15 minutes on the audio alone. Then we get into the actual video, we got to make sure we have all our angles. So depending on how many guests, we can have anywhere between 3 cameras to about 5 cameras, 5 angles in total. So instead of cutting between, me and you and then our wide shot, we can cut between a ton of stuff. So a ton of different angles. So then getting into that, making sure all those angles look good, make sure they look crisp. Then you get into color correcting because the reason our stuff looks as vibrant as it does because I shoot everything raw. For my creators out there, you understand what it means to shoot raw and S-Log. So I pretty much just bring color to life. So basically when I get the video and I put it in my program, it's grayscale. It's basically gray. It looks great. So in my process, I go and I kind of bring out the colors that I want to bring out. So for us, it's the pinks, the oranges, the greens.
Which is cool because there's so much, especially in a
place like this. There's a lot of color
here.
There's
a ton of color.
And then, working on the skin tones, especially super hard, making sure we all have a nice, a nice midsummer tan, make sure we look good. And then when it actually comes to editing the podcast, just go through and then make the cuts, make the cuts as natural as possible. We have a few graphic elements I've been able to pretty much make automated, just making a few edits here and there so that doesn't really take a long time. And then you have to export it and then upload it, which can take anywhere between an hour to 2 hours.
Right, have good Wi-Fi.
And then cutting the reels is actually what takes the most time.
Got you.
Cutting the reels, because then you have to go to the podcast, find a 3-minute segment and then cut it down to a minute.
Right.
With captions, with visuals, adjust everything to a vertical timeline instead of a horizontal timeline.
Yep.
So that's
which is where the magic happens.
Yeah. So I would say that's harder than editing the actual podcast.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because you have to find in 50 minutes you have to find the 1 minute of this is gonna.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, when as you grow on a production team and things like that, you can have someone listening in right now and say, boom, marking this off. Boom, marking this off. Boom, marking this off. So then, we know, all right, immediately into record, after post recording, we know, hey, at this moment, this was a pretty good conversation.
Yeah.
At this moment, this was a pretty good conversation.
So on that note, especially for me, since I'm mostly behind the camera, the first reel is always the easiest to find.
Right.
It's the second reel that's hard to find.
100%.
Because that first perfect soundbite is always going to be
the best one.
Crisp, easy, we got it. We can... for most podcasts, I leave and I already told Andre, I already know what I'm going to cut. Don't worry.
Exactly.
It's finding that second and the third one where you really have to dig in. But then
some pods are easier than others too because there's just a lot of gold in some of these combos.
But like I said, even the hard part isn't finding the conversation either. It's cutting it down to fit within those social parameters of a minute. Because right now the minute is the sweet spot in all of media. If you can keep your stuff around a minute, it's the most engaging. Because especially what they teach for the most part is the human attention span is
hypothetically even shorter.
Yeah,
it's obviously hard to garner a whole conversation in less than a minute.
Scientifically, especially in broadcast, they teach you that your visuals have to always be changing because the human attention span has dwindled down to like such a short amount of time. It used to be 30 seconds.
Yeah.
At this point in time,
Probably
God
like
knows
10,
where it's
15
at.
max.
So like I have to keep you around for a minute, where in reality I really only have your eyes for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's the challenging part.
The first like 3 seconds are really the hook.
So yeah, the hook.
Which is
and
what,
then,
you know, that's something that we've been talking about focusing on, right? It's like that first 3 seconds, right, of a social clip is the bread and butter. Because if you lose them in the first 3, right? One is the visual, right? So if I'm scrolling through a feed, right? I'm like this on my phone, I'm scrolling, whatever, boom, something catches my attention, right? You know, you see the set, you're like, oh, that looks good. And you stop. Now the question is, are you going to be able to garner their attention based off what they see? And if you don't do it in those first 3 to 5 seconds, boom, you're gone. You know, they're not going to consume actually what happened in that clip.
And what's funny is that mentality has been around for way before media was in, because the same thing with print articles.
Yeah,
and news.
exactly, 100%.
If your first line isn't gold, no one's going to give you a chance to read your
same
article.
thing. Subject lines, it all came down to what your subject line was.
Yeah, so
you gotta get people's attention off the bat.
That's always been around. That's always been like a very common thing, especially in any sort of journalism, media, any sort of medium. Your intro has to be like your hook, the lead sentence. In print, it's called the lead.
Yeah.
It's your lead has to be gold.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, you know, a lot of times when you see news articles or you watch stuff on the news, they always start with like a nap pop, like a natural sound, like whether it's
exactly.
like, you know, something to really be like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
So you need that little pop in terms of, you know, trying to keep your your viewers' attention in this sense. But for a lot of people, it's their readers' attention.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, you're having a reputation to be built, right? So it's like, why is someone gonna stop if they don't really care about you? But if you could build that reputation, you know, maybe you can be a little bit more lenient about it because you know people are going to watch you no matter what because of who you are, right? But in the beginning, it's really important to really try to get that attention early, so that you can keep coming back, right?
No, it's going to be a constant battle as long, and like in anything really. Yeah. It's a constant battle, whether you're a public speaker, like if your intro to your speech isn't kick-ass, no one's going to listen.
You're going to lose them.
So that's something that can apply to so many different outlets in life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the first day of school, your first impression, how you are. Especially for me, I used to be a teacher too. So like your first day will set they'll lay out the land for the entire year.
Yeah, it's true.
So like any intro is just super important.
It is.
For anything. So that process has been around forever.
There's a guy, I think he's a comedian. He just gets like a picture of like a hot chick and he just puts it immediately when the clip starts, and then he gets into his bit. I'm like, savage, bro. I'm like,
yeah, dude.
There's different ways you can go about it, obviously, depending what your brand is and all that stuff.
A lot of people like big bold titles. You know, a lot of people like sliding into the camera.
Yeah.
Like it's the what was that sports commentary? He always used to slide into the camera. The sports analyst. Yeah, he would like.
Was he for ESPN?
Yeah, was it Collinsworth?
Maybe, I have no idea.
The Collinsworth slide, was it called? That every time he'd start his broadcast, he would slide in. Yeah.
Interesting.
So like, yeah, like it's like anything, and it's the same reason why you come back to listening to something.
Right.
It's like
exactly.
For us with oh my God, who's the announcer that calls all the Dolphin games? We love when he calls them.
Oh my God.
Breen?
No. Oh God, Jesus Christ, that's gonna kill me.
Something Green, right?
Is it Green? No, I don't think it's Green.
Regardless, just so we don't, but like. You know, like the
that's our guy.
He's got Hill.
Yeah, he's got
Hill.
Yeah. Damn, that's gonna murder me.
Hold on to your hats. Here comes Waddle. Like just like those little things are like.
And the Dolphins are also notorious for just playing well when he's when he's calling.
Yeah. But it's stuff like that. So usually you come back to watching people, and like honestly, once you catch somebody's attention once, like you can get like that attention like continuously so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's cool, and that's like the biggest challenge now with us is like finding. You know, I love the way our content is, but like right now I just like. We hope the right person sees it,
right? So
that they can like find that there's a channel for them.
Exactly.
You know,
and the diversity of it too, right? There's a leak over. We know there's no one-dimensional kind of approach to this, right?
Yeah.
There's something for everyone, and a lot of us also like multiple things, right?
Yeah.
We're not, you know, for me, like I love business because I can apply it into my life, right? So I consume a lot of content in the business world. I love like meditation and mindfulness, so I consume a lot of content in that world. But I also fucking love sports, and I'm a fanatic, and I love golf too, right? So there's no one dimension. I don't just like one thing, right?
Yeah.
And to me, there's a lot of things that bring me joy, that bring entertainment to me, but also bring value to me. And that's really what this is all about, right? It's kind of showcasing the diversity of what works for people, right? Because we all, sometimes we need a disconnect, right? And sports is our disconnect, golf is our disconnect. But sometimes also there's times where we got to double down on our shit, and we got to make sure we're staying educated, right? We're still learning. We're improvising and growing our craft, and that means learning from other people that may have done it, that do it better than you, and having that accountability, right? So there's so much content out there, but you also have to figure out what it is that works for you and is delivered in a way that's meaningful, right? Because for me, I consume a lot of podcasts, right? But there's times where I catch it and I'm like, this is redundant, right? Like I've heard this before and this isn't really providing value. So you really got to find also what works for you. And even with sports shows, right? Like how many sports shows are out there? Can't stand some of these guys, right? And that's fine, right? Because there's an audience for those people, but for some people there's not. And you gravitate to the people that you like and the shows and the kind of the flow of the conversation. So there's something for everyone, and I think that's the biggest thing about all of it.
Yeah, and but I think like with us, like what we're doing, like we go in so many different routes, but we stay true to like what we are and who we are. Of
course, there's a core to
our
it,
core values always stay the same, but I feel like that's the coolest part about doing this. Like we go in so many different directions that it also tests me as a creative to like try to give everything like its own touch, but not lose sight of like what the core is. So that's like that's the challenge I love about doing this and being with Stay Tranquilo, that there's always something new coming up. So it's like, okay, how can we do this now? Now with the wine pod, now we have the Untitled podcast. They're all have a different theme to them. But it's
there's
like how
the intent behind them is all connected to our core.
Exactly. So it's like, how can I produce this in a way that it looks different, but it's still Stay Tranquilo? So like that's the coolest thing about it. And like going back to your point with like seeing like how much stuff there is out there, like the same thing how you see bad podcasts, like I see bad content. Like,
100%.
Often. But what's funny? I prefer bad content where you can tell the person's just like really trying to make it look good, rather than someone that's like pretty talented, but they're like, I'm just gonna put this out there because like I'm just gonna like do whatever. Like I don't know.
Like they're half-assing it almost.
Yeah, kind of, man. Like I don't know. Like I said, like if it doesn't look that good, like I think it's okay. Like really,
of course. Me. I think it's more about the authenticity behind everything.
Yeah, like
right?
I feel like a lot of stuff just looks fake.
Like exactly. I think that's what people care about, right? It's about being authentic in the way you perceive the content, obviously the conversations you have, just how you carry yourself on camera as a person, right? Like you don't want something to be scripted, and some people do a better job of that than others, right? But ultimately, what I believe is the most important thing is the authenticity that comes off in the content itself.
And dude, funny you say that, because I always say is that like I feel like people's ability to read fake has gone up like exponentially just because there's so much stuff being thrown at them that they know what is
what's real and what's not.
What's real and what's not. Like even for me and even like my little sister and like these kids, like they know. Like they can read bullshit. Like they really do it. It's like the same way the attention span maybe gone down. Like their bullshit meter has like skyrocketed. But like people can read fake, and like people realize it whenever they see someone just like putting on a show.
Yeah.
Like the same way like some people can realize when a country singer's faking a country accent.
Crazy.
Like that same thing, or when like a rapper that's rapping about the hood isn't really from the hood. Like people can tell like that stuff. They can read that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think like it's tough in that space, but like it's not tough because if you're just you're gonna succeed.
Yeah.
But if you try to be something you're not, like especially in this content space, like people are gonna know like they're gonna be like you're doing too much. Like that's my thing. Like I like when I see people like doing like all these flashes, blah blah, color this. I'm like, dude, like relax. Like what's all these effects for?
Right.
Just let the video breathe. Like, that's my motto. I let the video breathe. Like I hate seeing like all these flashes, this guy coming out of the ground, coming out of flower. I'm like, that's cool. But like I'm gonna have like
everyone's got their way of doing things,
No, 100%. 100%. But like there's people that do it well and there's people that do it too much.
Right, exactly.
Like there's people that it's like every like I feel like I'm having a trip. And I'm like, I didn't take acid this morning, but I feel like I'm having one.
Yeah, seriously. It's true.
I don't do acid, I'm just kidding.
He said it.
But yeah, like I said, bro, the authenticity, we always come back to that, like being authentic and just especially as a creative. And being in any space you are, like just be you and just don't try to like fake what you are. Like I know I'm not the best at this, what I do. I know there's people better than me, but like I have a good time doing it. And when I'm doing it, like people can see like, bro, like he has fun doing it. And like I'll get better as the years go on. I know that.
That's what it's all about.
I'll get better, but I'm never gonna change how I do my stuff.
Constant improvement. No, the moment you think you've figured it out is the moment you've lost, because
Yeah.
there's always going to be an evolution to something, and there's always going to be someone out there that, guess what, is chasing you, so they're going to try to be better than you, right? So you, as long as it, like you said, you're having fun with it, you're growing as a person in terms of your craft and just, you know, your overall demeanor and how you carry yourself and your character, right?
Yeah.
I think those are the things that you have to always keep evolving, because yeah, from any day to the next, things can change, and if you're not prepared, you know, things could go south. And I think the biggest thing that it really comes down to is, I think, are you having fun and are you carrying yourself in a good character way?
And I'm having a fucking
Yeah.
blast, bro. This shit's so fun, bro.
Which I'm gonna get to that question later. But before we do, I want to ask you one more question. What would you say is like next for Stay Tranquilo?
Next for Stay Tranquilo, man. Don't want to go crazy with saying everything, but I think
Right.
we're gonna expand. I think that's the best way I can put it. We're gonna expand. We're gonna bring more stuff to more people. We're gonna bring in people to help us do what we're doing, like-minded people, good people. And I think that you will start seeing Stay Tranquilo a lot places other than just YouTube. I think you're gonna start seeing a lot more of us. You're gonna see a lot more people talking about us, and I think it's just gonna be it's gonna become a household name very soon.
I agree. I think that's a great way to put it.
It's the most vague way I can put it, but I think that
Be like,
that kind of
what's
hits the mark.
happening?
Yeah. Stay tranquilo. What is that?
All right, so let's get into our fun little rapid
There we
Q&A
go. Let's
brought
do
to
it.
you by
I
Cureleaf.
was hoping for this.
Yeah, of course. It had to come.
Let's do
So
it.
let me think about how I want to do this. I've been having them in my head, but they've been kind of fluctuating. Okay, so first question, I got you. What's your go-to movie?
Go-to movie, Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers.
That's the.
I knew you were a rom-com kind of guy.
I don't even think it's a rom-com. It's
Is
like
it?
one of those like goofy.
I know
comedies.
it is a comedy.
It has a romantic.
There's a romantic side to it.
But bro, like I don't even watch it for the romantic.
No,
I
obviously.
I like one of my favorite scenes of all time is the scene where they're playing football and Vince Vaughn is like, Red 7, Red 7, Red 7. He's like, what do you say? Hot route. I'm like, dude, that shit is so funny.
That movie is iconic.
That movie has so much stuff. I can
Well,
watch
the tandem of
Vaughn
and what's this other
and
guy's
Owen
name?
Wilson.
Yes, and Owen Wilson.
Bro, I think that movie is so funny.
Dude,
You have Christopher Walken
they're
in
so
there.
good together.
Like-
I know. And that's how they do it. They get them two as a core, and then they get like this good supplemental
Yeah.
cast that just makes their movies like iconic.
Yeah, dude. Honestly,
That's
yeah,
a
like
good one.
that, and then another movie that I really like, and I would call it a trilogy. That I like really enjoyed was the Planet of the Apes trilogy.
Really?
Bro, I think that is like one of the most. I don't even think it's underrated. Like people say that's like one of the best trilogies of all time.
They just came out with one not that long ago, right?
Yeah, but it's like the.
Or is that separate from the?
No, it's the same.
Okay.
It's the same kind of world, but it's like the post Caesar universe.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
So like 1, 2, and 3 were like Caesar's
Right.
story, and now this
Gotcha.
is like everything afterwards.
Okay.
But like, bro, those first 3, like, it's like, dude, like,
Yeah.
they're really good, bro.
Who produces those?
Who produced it? I don't remember the director.
Yeah.
I know the guy that plays Caesar, the same guy that plays like he plays oh my god, the guy from the Lord of the Rings. He plays
I'm the worst
The-
when it
the
comes to
god-
actors' names and all that
Andy Serkis.
Okay.
Andy Serkis. He's like one of the like founders like the CGI kind of movement, like
Okay.
just
Oh,
like
wow.
like the motion capture, like how they do it with
Cool.
Avatar. Like he was like one of the first to do it for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So he did like the actual movements of that character with like
That
the precious
stuff is crazy. Like when you see the
Yeah.
behind the scenes of all that stuff that goes into
So
that.
like yeah, and then like you see how these people actually had to like, and that's what I love about it, like how these people got so involved in like becoming these roles that like
No,
it was crazy.
it's impressive.
So yeah,
as hell.
that movie's super. Those movies are super impressive to me.
Planet of the Apes and Wedding Crashers. All right, solid. All right, next question, or the next 2 questions will be Stay Tranquilo related. The next question would be, what's been your favorite memory in Stay Tranquilo?
Favorite memory in Stay Tranquilo, man, that's a good one. Cause there's a lot
had
of
to
good,
think
there's a
about that
lot
one
of good
too.
moments. I gotta think about this for a second, bro.
There's a lot that I could go down the
Yeah,
list.
bro. There's so much stuff. We've done so much fun crap. Like, I'm just trying to think of like, maybe not so much fun, but just like a moment where I was like,
Yeah.
this is good. Damn. I think it was in Punta Cana when we were in our room and I walked out onto the balcony and I saw like the beach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I really working right now? Like, is this my life right now? Like,
that trip was fucking awesome.
like, dude, there's so much stuff that I can't even recall, but I always remember that moment.
Yeah.
And then like, dude, I just think like, and this is more like a kind of like broad, but like the reactions of the guests after our podcasts are over and we stop recording. I love
That's true.
those like 5
That's
minutes
cool.
after the podcast. Cause you can see like they just had a good time. Like we have like I have mics on them. I have all these lights like bright on them. But like just like how they are after the podcast, they're like, bro, like that was awesome. Like they just seem like there's like that 5 minute period of just like happiness. Like not so much that the podcast is finally over, but like they just generally had a good time.
Yeah.
So like I really cherish those like moments. I just kind of like to see like the reactions and stuff. Like I really love those moments.
No, I love that response. I mean, I also you know, Punta Cana was of course amazing, and some of the
that was more like a
like
visualization, but this one's more like just like putting myself
a
in
feel
the moment. Yeah.
thing. Yeah, and I mean, look, and when we had these guests, obviously there's a lot of thought that goes into it. It's not like just like like pick and choose. Like
there's a process into getting the guests we have,
and there's a level of respect to those people, right? Why? Because especially when it's like the Stay Tranquilo stuff, right? Like this pod specifically, they're going through similar grinds that we're going through, right?
Yeah.
So I respect the fact that they're putting themselves out there. They're not really taking the orthodox path. They're creatives by trade, and they're putting their time and energy into something that they like, you know? So there's a level of connection there right off the bat where I'm like, dude, guy or girl, like I respect the hell out of you because you're deciding to do something for a higher purpose than yourself, right? And I think that is something that is cool, but it's also something that it's great to be able to provide a platform for them to be able to do that, right? Yeah, maybe we don't reach the masses, but you know, even if we reach a couple thousand people, you know, even a couple 100,000 people over time, like that to me is like, damn, like we got to be able to get their story out there, right? How many other people are doing that for them? Not many, right? So there's so many people's stories and there's so many people out there doing amazing things. And it's kind of like that concept like we talked about, like the weekend warriors and the Tranquilo guy, Tranquilo girl of the month, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people, dude, that are grinding out there every single day, right? That are not celebrities, that are not famous, that are not,
they're just trying to make it day by day,
superstar athletes, whatever it is. They're just out there making a living for themselves. And they're putting themselves there to, you know, with the, with the hope, obviously something comes of it, but they're doing things that are uncomfortable. There's no doubt about it. And they're having a good time in the process of doing it, which is, again, very admirable and a level of connection to that.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Last question, and then maybe a bonus question. I don't know yet. But, we'll do a bonus question.
Right.
But last question, which I think you know what it's going to be. What does it mean to stay tranquilo?
So I've thought about this because I knew I was going to be asked this question. But for me, the way I've always heard that phrase of like stay tranquilo is finding your peace in the moments of like the most pressure. For me, that's what it means to stay tranquilo. Because usually when someone tells you it's like, oh, tranquilízate is when you're amped up. Or you're like at like a level where you're like, you're like kind of on the edge.
Yep.
So like for me, it's finding your peace in those moments where you're almost going over the edge.
Right.
And like finding a way to just like bring yourself back down. So like that can be like in a lot of ways. It doesn't really have to be like going somewhere and seeing some place.
Right.
It's just that ability to like be in the moment and just like find a way to like
almost like calibrate yourself.
Recalibrate. Yeah. So like that's for me what staying tranquilo really is. You know, and like this is a stressful life, you know, this is a stressful kind of route. It's a grind. And like, bro, there's moments where I have, there's 6 podcasts out and like we have to do everything. And I'm like,
I know.
How the hell am I going to do this?
Yeah.
But it's just like the same thing. Like, and my dad especially always told me, he's like, relax, tranquilízate, you're going to figure it out.
Exactly. Always
so
do.
It's just like coming back down, mellowing out, because when you're amped up, you're not going to achieve anything. It's when you find a flow that, you know what, might take a little bit longer, but it's going to get done. Yeah. So that's really what it means to stay tranquilo for me. Finding peace in like the craziness.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's a big part of it for sure. Big reason why I started it was like almost like providing that reminder. So I agree. All right, bonus question. Dolphins projection on record.
Oh, fudge. My friend right here, he's saying we're going 0-17 just to keep his hopes down.
Jeez. I mean, I appreciate that mentality as a Dolphin fan, but I'm a little more optimistic than that.
Dude, I'm not even going to give you a record. I just want achievements. We have to win the division.
Okay.
And we
Fair.
have to win a playoff game.
Fair.
We have to win a playoff game. If we do lose one, it has to be like the gladiator match of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like it has to be like a
just a
last second
fight.
60-yard field goal to win it.
Yeah.
And it obviously has to be against a good team too.
Of course. Yeah.
Like, but I just need it. Yeah, it's time.
I agree.
Vamos.
I agree. I think that's
Record-wise,
division will be hard to get, but I think we have the team to do it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, in the playoffs, host a home playoff game.
Yeah.
And bring this home crowd that is in dire need of a win, and this organization in need for a win, to just get that feeling back home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's really what's been missing this whole time. Like we've had pretty much winning records for like a good amount of time now.
We're on the.
We're just missing that. We're
the-
just missing that really big win. We haven't had like a really big win in a long time. Like the Cowboys one was
Cowboys
good.
one was a good one.
It
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
But we haven't like
that one win that you're like, okay, this team looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what we're really missing. And like, bro, we're playing some good ass people this season. We're playing.
It's
We're
not
like
an
we have
easy
the
schedule.
49ers. We
They
got
have us like as a 24th ranked
yeah.
schedule, but
we got the
sneaky
Packers
teams
in
in there.
there. We got the Texans.
Seahawks, Colts. Like I know those are like the teams that people are like undermining. Yeah, those are still good opponents.
You know, and
division's not going to be easy. Obviously, we are going to have a target on our back with every opponent that we play.
I just don't want another Tennessee game where it's like.
I hope we play them again on Monday night this year.
I know we have to kill them.
We better they better come out.
Yeah, they better
firing.
Better come out with extra padding. Mm-hmm. But no, honestly, like I feel good about the season. I mean, we have to. I think this is a big year for us in terms of like what's the future for the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. So I just hope for a good year, win the games we have to, and if
healthy, obviously.
And if we lose a couple games here and there, as long as they're not like worse than us, like we lose some 49ers, but like a field goal,
right?
Like I'll be like, at least we're in the game.
Yeah, it's a home game for us. So
I just don't want to get embarrassed, you know. Like we're not at a point to be getting embarrassed. We have too good of a team to get embarrassed. Mm-hmm. Like the Baltimore games was embarrassing. All the Bills games were embarrassing.
That sucked, yeah.
So like as long as we don't get embarrassed, we're good. And then obviously don't be be in the top 3 of the AFC. Yeah. That'll be ideal. Ideal. But we'll see. Yeah.
I agree. Well, I appreciate this convo. I think it was fun.
Yeah,
I hope everyone got a ton of value. And obviously, I appreciate the hell out of you and everything that you do for this. I'm excited. I think there's a lot of amazing things going on.
Oh, yeah.
And anyone that's listening, obviously, we appreciate you as well. I hope you got a little bit of a background into what happens behind the scenes here. And yeah, I hope you guys continue to follow us on our journey because there's a lot of exciting things coming. So
hell yeah.
We'll see you. And of course, shout out to Vic of always, giving us the space. Purchase some artwork back here, whatever you like. If you don't like something here, hit him up. He'll make you something. Plus a merch, bro. I get so many compliments on the merch. So get on it. It's good shit.
We'll put a link below around here. We'll put something around here.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
Later, guys.